Okay. Today, I'd like to show you guys some navigation and what that entails. So what I've done here, you can see I've basically just started a new project. I entitled it Navigation. And I just created an empty activity. So we don't have anything in here. We just have, if we look in here in our main, we just have our hello world right there. And that's soon going to go in the garbage. But I felt like I needed to take you guys step by step because I'm going to create two other views. So first of all, I'm going to do a new package. So we're at the root of navigation. So I'm going to make an activities package. Now inside here, I'm going to do another package. And I'm going to title that main. Now if it doesn't show up there, don't panic. Just close that and open it back up. Oh, look, it's there. Cool. And since it created it here in the base of navigation, we definitely want to refactor. So we're going to click refactor, and then that fixes all of the places where it might need to be changed, where there might be some issues. If we go here, now because I did it this way, I may have to go back. Okay, so if we go to project, yeah, I'll have to do it this way. Go to Java. Okay, so here I can do another package. And the package name, we're at the base of Java. Excuse me. So we have to do com.example.navigation activities dot dashboard. So now I should be able to go back to the Android view. Yeah, see, there you go. And now, to make this easy on ourselves, what we're going to do is we're going to go to New, and we're going to go to Empty Activity. Now you want this one to be called Activity Dashboard. Okay, source language is Kotlin. Looks good. Hit finish. Now Gradle's gonna freak out a little bit and readjust things. And now we're in activities. Okay, so that is Option or Alt and return. Okay. Should not start with an uppercase. Okay. It's getting mad at me for main too. Okay, so then I'm going to come over here. Come on. Rename. Rename current. No. So we're just going to do lowercase m. Refactor. Bam. So we can see over here it changed to lowercase. And that's good. So we're going to do a new package. And this one we're going to call camera. We're going to go to New, Activity, Empty Activity. And this one's going to be called lowercase, sorry, camera. So it's the camera activity. And it looks good to me. Everything looks fine. Finish. Over here, Alt or Option return, import. Okay, so now that we have those two views done, we have our main activity, which is literally going to be our main. We can go into our manifest. So it's hitting this here because there is no info. So we're just gonna, instead of, I just copied, and I believe it's just info. Oh, it's view. There you go. Okay, we have empty activities here. We can see that. What we want to do, excuse me, we want to make sure that these two views, the camera and the dashboard view, are both child views of the main activity. So that means that if we hit the back button, then we go, if we're in the camera or the dashboard activity, that we go back to the main activity. So we go metadata, and I'm going to skip the Android. I'm just going to go straight for name. And this is going to be I guess I have to type that all the way up. I thought I was going to get some nice autocomplete. Oh, and I am. Look at that. Android dot support dot, I think it's all caps, parent activity. Oh, but we're not done. So value. So the parent activity is going to be our main activity. Okay. So I'm going to copy that. Since we're not going to put anything inside the metadata, we can have it just self-close like that. That's fine. So now, in our dashboard activity, we want to make sure that that's there as well. All right. Just to be prepared, we're going to go in here into values and in strings. So we have our app name is navigation. So we are going to add a few strings. String name. And this is, we're going to do title underscore activity underscore main. No. Title underscore activity underscore dashboard. So here we're just going to do capital D dashboard. Title activity, and this one I'm going to rename camera. And here we're going to do camera. And I know in a minute we're going to have we are going to have some text fields that we can enter information into. So we are going to have the, I believe it's called help text. We're going to have the help text so the name is going to be title underscore first underscore name. And then capital first, capital name, and then just copy that. We're going to change this to last name, last name. Okay. So now that we have those done, we're going to go into our layout here. We're going into the activity main, and instead of a text view here, we're going to delete that out, and we have a constraint layout here, but we're going to put some layouts inside of our constraint layout. I don't want to get too heavy into the design portion, so I'm going to try to keep it as simple as I can. So I'm going to take another constraint layout, and I'm going to make sure that that's a child, and I don't want that to be a child of the one inside. I just want another constraint layout there. Okay, so this first constraint layout, we're going to have a plain text field there and there. The ID on this one is going to be lowercase first name. The title on this one is going to be lowercase last name. Okay, so when I told you that it was the whatever text it was, it's actually the hint. So let's do the first name first. So we're just going to hit OK. So that's going to display first name as a hint. And then here, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do the last name as a hint. Now, I just want these to line up. So I'm just giving them constraints. Say constraint to the side, constraint to the side. I want you to go right up against that one. Yeah, we want to go to the bottom of the constraint. Does that have actual text in there? Because if this has text, we want to remove it. Yeah, we don't want name in there at all, because we want the user to be able to input the name. Okay, great. Here we're going to have a couple of buttons. Anyways, we're going to give this guy an ID of dashboard. Okay, and we're going to give him text, but we don't want it to be button. We want it to be dashboard. Okay, this other button, its name, we want it to be camera. Okay, ID we need to be camera. Camera. I know it's ugly, but it'll work. Gonna make sure we have no errors, and it doesn't look like we do, so that's fine. Okay, so now we're going to go to our main activity. And so I need to talk a little bit about intents. So an intent in Android, it's basically a simple message object from one activity to another activity. So We'll be using them today to tell the new activity to start, and we'll be using the intents to pass data along with the message. All right. So we need to have two functions here. They're going to be private functions. Private fun on dashboard click. And we're going to have another one that's private fun on camera click. So for the camera click, it's pretty easy. We just need to say val intent equals intent, not instant, intent. Okay, remember there is no new in Kotlin, so it's just invoking it. Intent. So we need to pass in our context, which is this, and we need to pass in the class. So how we do that, it's not as easy as just the name. So for the camera, so we do camera activity, but if you notice it doesn't like that. So to do that, we do 2 colons, then we do class.java, and suddenly it's happy. So then there is a function that we inherit from, that the main activity inherits from app compat activity, which is start activity. And then we just pass in our intent. Okay. So that works for camera. So let's try this out. The Gradle build is running. Gradle invocation finished. Okay, it's installing the APKs. I may cut all this out. Okay. And then we have our fugly interface. First name, last name, dashboard camera. If we click on camera, we should navigate. And we didn't. Oh, that's why. Yeah, well, obviously, like if you want to navigate, say, so we if you look at the private function on camera click, it's gray, so that means we're not using it anywhere. So we can just reference camera, which that should get our button reference. So now we're setting our on-click listener, in the onCreate method. So we don't need, it usually passes in a view as well, but we don't need the view. We just want to say on camera click. So now if we do instant run, it'll refresh. Boom. So if we go camera, yay, look at that. Now I just hit back. And there we go. Okay, so with this I wanted to do something special. I wanted to show you how you pass data. So we have, so first let's go ahead and set up our dashboard click listener. So we're going to do on dashboard click. So we want to pass the first and last name to our dashboard. So I'm going to do var fname equals first name. So that's the reference to our text field. And so common sense says that I should be able to just use that, but I promise it won't work unless you do .toString. I fought with that for 30 minutes before realizing that was the case. So yay! Then we want to get the last name as well. So lname equals last name dot text dot toString. So then we're going to do the same thing that we did over here. So we're going to make our intent, but we're not going to do the camera activity. We are going to do dashboard activity. So how do we take our first and last name and put it inside that intent? Well, we need to do intent dot put extra. Doesn't matter which one you do, because it's just going to give you that. So what I do is, so when I'm using intents like this, I generally have a service, and this is something that we'll cover later, to handle all this for me. And I usually make this this magic string an enum I can reference somewhere, so that I don't have to remember, oh, what was that called again? I can just do like extra keys dot first name. But for now, we're just gonna be lazy. So first name. Excuse me. So this is the value that we pass in. So it's going to be fname. Intent dot put extra. This is going to be last name. And then we're going to pass in lname. And then now that we've got our extras in there, we can just use start activity and we pass in our intent. Cool. So if we do our instant run, we should be able to navigate to camera, go back, and we should be able to navigate to dashboard. So whether or not you have any information in there, it's still going to navigate to our dashboard. But we've passed that information. We've passed that information to our dashboard. So now let's concentrate on getting that out of there. So let's go into our dashboard activity right here. We're going to have our text view, which is going to be front and center. But we're also going to have another text view that's right below it. take you, go up there. That's fine. Will it not constrain? Okay, it'll do that. Okay, all right. Be weird. That's fine. We're not here to make pretty UIs yet. Okay. So this is we're gonna have the same ID that we do on our other view. So we're just gonna do first name. Yes, that's fine. And this is going to be lowercase last name. So now that we have those two, and we have their names for them, we're going to go over to our dashboard activity. And in the onCreate here, we're going to say var fname equals unknown user. And then there's something that we could check to see if we have extras. So we do if intent has extra. So this is where we pass in first name. So you want to make sure that you spell it right. So if we have a first name, then we're going to overwrite what we have here. So fname equals intent dot extras dot get string. Excuse me. Let me just type that. First name. So we know that that's a string. So now we can say first name dot text equals fname. So no matter what, why is it found acquired editable? If intent has extra, first name, intent.extras.getString, first name. All right, so we're going to do the same thing over here with our last name. Var lname and that's not going to be unknown user, it's going to be unknown first name, and I'm going to copy that. Of course, if you do this, you have to make sure that you rename everything. Okay, just to make sure that I've got that correct, I'm going to go back over here. So that's first name, and that's last name. We're just going to get rid of that text. Pretty sure I did that right. Let's see. So first name, I think that's where we were getting our errors. So now we're referencing the correct ones. That's why I was confused. So right here we need to make sure we say last name. Unknown first name, unknown last name. Last name. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So now we'll try this out. I think it crashed. Yeah, because the instant run makes it run the same view. And since it didn't have anything, it kind of freaked out. Okay. So let's try this out. First name, Jacob. Last name, Graves. And we're going to say, go to dashboard. And there's Graves. So wherever Jacob went. ID first name. ID last name. Okay, I'm obviously doing something wrong. Let's look over here. So, first name, unknown last name. First name, we're getting the last name. Oh, that's why. See, first name, first name. Ah, yay. Copy paste. Like I said, don't do it. So now when we refresh, Jacob Graves, yay. If we go back here, you know our data's gone. So let's just try hitting the dashboard. And there's nothing. And I think that's because it's, okay. Then what we'll have to do here is in the main, so if, just so that we can see what happens when there is no first name or last name. So if f name dot is blank, maybe not is blank, but is not empty. I'm going to come down here and do the same thing. Remember, L name I'm just going to cut that whole line and paste it. And delete that part. All right, so if f name is not empty, we're going to put it in the extra, in the intent as an extra. And the same thing with the last name. And then we're going to start. So now, say it. Okay, it said that it started. So let's try it. Dashboard. Unknown first name and unknown last name. Excellent. Okay. So now, now that we got that working, we're going to start on the camera view. So we're actually going to take a picture. Excuse me. So the easiest way to get things to display images, to get image user to display images, is by using Picasso. And if that name sounds familiar, it is related to the old Google Picasso that you used to have with like downloading images. I know that my wife played with that a lot when she was on Facebook. There was a lot of like image downloading. So to get that started, we're going to need to head over to the app Gradle. So over here, we're going to need to add a couple of implementations. So implementation, we're going to do com.android. Oop, not Android. I apologize. Square up. Picasso colon Picasso, and this is our version 2.71828. Now let's see if that works. Okay. I had an issue before where I needed to add some extra dependencies, but oh yeah, no, it turned red. So yeah, we will need to add those extra dependencies. So so we need to do implementation, and it's all thanks to Picasso. Com. You know what? Never copy paste. I really don't like that being before there, so we'll. Okay, so it's support. But instead of this, we're going to do exif interface, not version 7, just :28.0.0. So exif, in case you're wondering what that is, that has to do with image rotation. So there's exif data on all images. And so Picasso, I guess, has some settings to deal with image rotation. And you need to have the most up-to-date support library up and going. And same with this here. Support animated -vector -drawable, and that's 28.0.0. Okay, so we're going to sync, and the error should go away, and we should be good to go. It looks like we are. Okay. So there are lots of ways to have the camera work, but the way that I found that made the most sense to me you have to do a little bit of extra work. So we're just going to go ahead you want a new directory. No, you know what? We want it in here. Values. No. We do want a directory. And we're just going to do this. We're just going to call it XML. And in here, and instead of values, so I did, let me just read that out loud, what I was doing. So new, when I go down into XML, and we're doing a values XML file right here. So instead of values, we are going to make this provider underscore paths. Finish. Okay, and then instead of resources right here, we're going to change it to paths. And then here we're going to do external dash path it's self-closing, but we're going to do name equals external underscore files. And then path, we're just going to give you a dot. Now I know that it says that it is an error, but I believe that's correct. Oh, see, it put it in values here. So we want to make sure that it goes into XML. Bam. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, so we have our provider paths. Excuse me, our provider paths. Now, I'll show you what that's about. So we need a provider, and this is an Android provider. This isn't a provider that we make. So we need to head on back to our Android manifest right here. And in this manifest, we add permissions. So first, we want to say use this permission, and this is going to be, what is it, camera. And we're just going to do self-closing. Then we're going to do use this permission, Android name, and we're going to need write external storage. So in Android, you may need to, there are several things that you may not be able to do because you need the permissions first. So that's a good place to look, is right here in this uses permissions tag. All right. So we have those permissions in there, but we also need uses feature, and the name, I have to type that all out, Android .hardware .camera .any. this required equals true. We're going to require that we have a camera. And I know from experience that we need to say use this feature autofocus, Android name. Gotta type it all out again, I guess. Android dot hardware camera dot autofocus. Android.hardware.camera.autofocus, and then we're going to do Android.required equals false. Okay, so those are important. And then last but not least, because this is super important, we need our provider. So inside the application, right below all your activities, we're going to do provider. So the authorities, we're going to do template syntax, which is $, curly brace open, curly brace close, inside application ID dot provider. And the name here is Android dot support dot v4 content dot file provider. Thanks for finishing that for me. Exported equals false. Grant URI permissions equals true. And in here, we don't want to self-close. We want to have it open like that. We're going to do metadata. Name is Android.support. File underscore provider underscore paths. That's one thing I dislike about Android, is that you have some things autocomplete and some things not. It's obnoxious. Resource. So then we want to provide what we had before, what we just barely made before. So that's at XML slash provider paths. Yay! Okay. So we are good to go there. Let's head over to our camera activity. First, we need to go over to our layout right here and make sure that we have an image view. We're going to plop that down the middle. Here, avatars is fine. And we're gonna I want to make it bigger. Doesn't matter how big. Big enough to see. So then I'm going to give it constraints so that we see it right in the middle of our screen. Perfect. But the only problem is that if this shows up, I mean, when we press play and we demo this, we're not going to be able to see this at all. So what we need to do is we need to give it a background color. So we can give it, let's do the primary. Oh, we can, oh, that's fine. Primary's fine. Just so that we can see where we're supposed to click. Great. Now over to our camera activity, we're going to have a couple of methods here. So we have our onCreate, which we'll be setting everything up in, but we also want a private function called onImageView pressed. Then we also want a method called, it'll be a private fun lowercase show toast message. Then we want a private function called local add photo file. And this is going to return a file for us. That's fine. What else we need up here is we need a variable for our photo file. So here's a late init var photo file. So what a late init is, that's the keyword that we'll be using later on when we do dependency injection. It just means that it's not there at the beginning, but it will be later. We also need this isn't going to change, so it's a val. And it's take picture, and we're just going to give it a value of 1. I'll show you where we're going to use that. So after we've created everything, and after we set the content view to the activity, now we need to set our photo file. And the late init allows us to not make it nullable. It makes it so that it says that it'll always be there, even though it won't. And that's okay. So we want to have our local add photo file return our file. So while we've called that, let's go ahead and fill this one out. So this is a one-liner. It's pretty easy. File, get external file directory, and we're going to pass in null and image.jpg. All right. Now that we have our photo file, we want to add a click event to our image view. And I believe that's just called image view. Image view. All right, image view dot set on click listener. And we're just going to do on image view pressed. Okay. So when you are switching between different applications, we're going to have to switch to the camera to take the picture, and then the camera is going to return our image. In order to do that, a lot of things can go wrong. So we are going to put everything inside of a try catch. And we don't care what kind of exception it is when it comes back. If we have an exception, then we want to log that exception. We want to show it to the user. Now, for debugging purposes, it's best to spit these exception messages out so you can see them when you're debugging your code. But when it comes time to actually give this to the user, we want to display a different message, one that is a little more user-friendly. But for now, let's just do this. So we are going to be passing in a message, which is a string. A user can pass in a duration. We're going to set it to an int, but if they don't pass in an integer, we'll just set it to toast dot length long. Yeah, we'll have it a long toast. And we're actually going to return a toast. And now here, val toast equals toast dot make text. So here's where we pass in our context, which is this. We pass in our message, and we pass in the duration. Once we have that, we've got our variable, so we do toast dot show and return toast. So if we have an exception, we want to show toast message, and we're going to do e.localized message. Okay, so like I said before, intents are passing messages to different components or activities. So we are passing it to the camera. So we're going to do val intent equals intent. So what we're passing in here is media store.action image capture. Intent put extra media store.extra output So now we take our file provider that we made, get URI for file, excuse me. We pass in this, we pass in the authority, which just trust me on this one. It's build config application ID plus provider. And then the file, so we use that photo file that we just made. So then we just pass along photo file. And now that we've put that extra in there, then we can say start activity not activity, but start activity for result. Pass along our intent, and we also pass along our take picture. See, this is what I think is weird a little bit too, is that you can provide whatever value you want here, but then you just verify that it comes back when you come back. So that's it for on image view pressed. We've got our show host message. We've got our local add photo file. The only thing that we're missing is we want to override. And I don't even think we have to type override. We just do on activity result. And we're not going to pass anything along. So what you can do, so you can have, on this one, we're just going to have like where you take a picture, but you can have a different, you could have like an intent made that allows you to select from like your local cache of images to display. You could have something where you launch an external program. So there's, you know, to find images there, and then you pass those along. We're not going to do that. I mean, that's why it's handy to have this take picture. So you can say, well, if your result code, or your request code, because your result code is what you get back from the camera. If your result code, if your request code is 1, then here's what we do with those results. We know that we took a picture instead of passing along other information for displaying an image. So we are going to remove the super call. And here's where we use Picasso. So Picasso.get, and I like to put them on separate lines so I don't get confused as to what's going on. And we're going to invalidate our cache. That just basically means that if there was any caching in Picasso, that we want to override that. We want to get rid of the cache so we can display the new image that we've taken. Now, we do Picasso.get.load, and this is going to be photo file. And after .load, we want to do center inside .fit into image view. So we have, Picasso has a callback So you can do, so once you're done loading this image, you can run something if it was successful or if it was or if there was an error. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So we are doing object callback, and we want the one that is com.squareup.picasso. So here we do on error. Object is not abstract and does not implement abstract member. Okay, so I think we need to add both, even if we're not going to use both. So we're just going to get back an exception if we have an error. So again, we want to show the toast message. So show toast message, e.localized message. Let me make sure we do. What's it not liking there? Only safe or non-null asserted calls. Okay. So we'll just be safe here. If e is not equal to null, there we go. Now it doesn't hate it. So we need to override on error, but we also need to override on success. On success. Since we have to, I'm just going to put a comment here. Do nothing for now. Okay. That looks like that is it. So let's go ahead and try this. Let's see if we've done it or if we've made an error somewhere. Okay. So if we go to our camera, here we've got our image. If we click on that, permission denial. Okay, this is from when I tried it before, but yeah. So permissions. That's another thing that we need to worry about. But that's not what I'm going to go over today. So if we hold down here, there is something that you can implement that asks the user to switch the permissions there in the app, and we could possibly get into that later, but for now we're just going to go and switch those permissions on manually. Sorry, we're going to switch them manually. So here the system knows that our navigation app is looking for it needs camera permissions and it needs storage permissions, excuse me. So since it doesn't have that, it can't work right. So now, all right. So now let's debug. We're going to go into it. Oh, cool. Yay. Well, anyway, We're going to take a picture. That's okay. And then boom. So there we have my Bessie bed in the background. Sorry about that. Anyways, and that's how you get the camera to display an image. So if you have any questions about what I've done today, just go ahead and email me or ask me questions in class. All right, well, have a good day, and I'll talk to you guys later.